All right, let's talk about the real world for a second. It's a place where what you see is almost never the full story, especially when it comes to money. Today, we're going to dive into a guide on how to build real lasting wealth. The kind you don't actually see on Instagram, the kind that gives you freedom, not just attention.
You know these two people, I guarantee it. On one side, you've got the guy on Instagram, always posing in front of a shiny new SUV. But what's really going on? Well, it turns out he hasn't had a job in 3 months and is just drowning in debt. And then you have that quiet uncle in your building, right? The one driving that same old Maruti for years. He just paid for his son's U.S. university admission in cash, and he's quietly collecting rent from 2 properties he owns. See? That's the paradox right there. Loud wealth is so often just a show, while the real financial power, that moves in complete silence.
So, the big question is, how do you actually build this silent power? Well, our guide for this journey is a bit of an unusual one. We're talking about a 15th century Italian diplomat named Niccolo Machiavelli. Yep, that Machiavelli. See, his book, The Prince, written over 500 years ago, wasn't just about ruling a kingdom. It was a masterclass in how to get power, how to hold on to it, and, this is the key, how to conceal it. And you'll see, the lessons are shockingly relevant today.
And this quote right here, this is the key to the whole thing. Machiavelli totally got it. He knew that people react to what they see, not what they actually know. The entire strategy of silent wealth is built on that one simple principle. You have to manage perception. You let them see what you want them to see, all you're quietly building your empire in the background.
Okay, so this brings us to rule number 1, and it's probably the most important of all. Your greatest weapon is invisibility. Think about it. The biggest threats to your growing wealth, they're not market crashes, they're not bad investments. Nope. The real danger is envy, jealousy, and all the unwanted attention that comes from other people. It's simple. The less they know about your success, the safer your fortress of wealth becomes. Now, this isn't about being negative. It's just about being realistic about human nature. Just imagine for a second, you post something amazing on social media, a big win. Out of, say, 150 people who see it, how many are truly, genuinely happy for you? Maybe 50? The other 100? They might feel that little pang of jealousy. And that envy, it's just a natural human instinct. And it is the number one reason why you've got to keep your wins to yourself. I mean, look at someone like Ratan Tata. He perfectly embodies this principle. We're talking about the head of a group worth over $100 billion. He could have lived any life he wanted, right? And yet, what did he choose? Modesty. Driving simple cars, avoiding all that flashy stuff. He understood a really deep truth. True influence doesn't need to scream for attention. It's just felt, not. And this isn't just an Indian thing. It's a global principle. Look at Warren Buffett. The man still lives in the same house he bought back in 1958. He grabs breakfast from McDonald's. This isn't just about being cheap. It's a strategy. These giants of industry, they know that flaunting wealth just invites problems. Jealousy, people asking for money, competitors trying to copy your moves or even sabotage you. Silence. That's their shield. It all boils down to this simple but incredibly profound idea. Poor people buy attention. Rich people buy privacy. When you're starting out, you might crave that attention, that validation. But as you build real, substantial wealth, you quickly realize that privacy, that's the ultimate luxury. It's the shield that protects you and lets your empire grow completely undisturbed. Okay, so invisibility is a great defense. It's crucial. But true power, that requires an offense too. If your money is just sitting there silently in a bank account, guess what? You're actually losing. So the next role is all about turning your money into soldiers and sending them out to fight for you. And who's the enemy your soldiers are fighting? It's inflation. Think of it as a silent thief. It just creeps into your bank account and eats away 6, maybe 7% of your savings every single year, and you don't even notice it's happening. Money that isn't growing is actively shrinking. Cash just sitting there is like a soldier left in the barracks, just getting weaker and weaker. So, what's a practical way to send your money into battle? A really simple framework to start with is the 20-20-60 rule. The idea is this: you live on 60% of your income, you save 20% for emergencies, and then, this is the most important part, you invest the other 20%. That 20%? That's your army. That's the money you put to work to fight inflation and build your kingdom. And you know what? Getting started is easier than it has ever been. You don't need some fancy financial advisor just to begin. There are apps on your phone right now that let you open an investment account in like minutes. The absolute key here is consistency. Setting up a systematic investment plan, an SIP, makes the whole thing automatic. By just regularly investing even a small amount, you start to harness the incredible power of compound interest over time. Honestly, the most important step is just to start.
All right, so once your money is out there working for you, it's time to think even bigger. Let's move on to our next rule for building this private kingdom. See, Machiavelli advised that a wise ruler should never, ever depend on just luck or fortune. And in our world today, that means you can't depend on a single source of income. That monthly salary, it's not security, it's a vulnerability.
Think about it like this. If you only rely on your job, you're like a king with just one single fortress. Yeah, it might seem strong, but it's totally vulnerable to one single attack, like a layoff. But a person with multiple streams of income, now they're ruling a whole kingdom with many different rivers flowing into it. If one of those rivers dries up for a while, no big deal. The kingdom survives, and it even thrives. So how do you create these rivers? You need to start thinking of your salary as seed money. Use it to fund a small side business. Maybe create a digital product. You could use your skills to do some freelancing or consulting on the side. Invest in stocks that pay dividends. Or over time, maybe even buy a rental property. The goal is to turn that one paycheck into 5, 6, maybe more independent streams of income.
And trust me, this is not a new idea. Just look at the Medici family back in 15th century Florence. They were absolute masters of this. They started with banking, sure, but they didn't stop there. Oh no. They diversified into land, into art, into politics. Their power became totally unshakable because their influence and their income were coming from everywhere. They didn't just build a business, they built an entire ecosystem. And that brings us to our final and maybe most profound rule. What's the point of all this? Really, what's the end game? It's not the Lamborghini. It's not the penthouse with the crazy view. The real goal is to build a legacy in whispers, to achieve a state of true, silent freedom far, far away from the noise of public applause. And here it is, the big secret. The real players in this game, they don't need recognition. The most powerful person in any room is often the one you don't even notice. They understand that real power is simply the freedom to live life completely on your own terms. And that's a freedom that nobody can measure, nobody can tax, and nobody can ever take away from you. So what the world sees is just a regular person, going to their job, living a pretty normal life. But behind the scenes, something completely different is happening. Behind those closed doors, a silent empire is being managed, investments are compounding, and a real legacy is being built, all while the rest of the world is distracted by all the noise. Because ultimately, you start to realize that the true currencies of power, they aren't dollars or rupees at all. They're your time, your peace of mind, and your invisibility. These are the assets you have to protect just as fiercely as you protect your bank balance. Because at the end of the day, they are what money is supposed to buy you in the first place. So here's the final takeaway. The goal isn't the big show. All those luxury items, they're just bait for people who don't understand the real game. The real treasure, the ultimate prize, is the silent, untouchable freedom that you build for yourself, brick by brick, completely in private. And that leaves us with one last question to think about. In the world we live in, attention is seen as a currency, right? But it's also a tax. It's a tax on your time, a tax on your peace, and a tax on your security. So as you go forward and start building your own wealth, you really have to ask yourself, is that a tax you're willing to pay?